desired outcome that wouldn't otherwise happen without you doing something. If you don't get that a goal is going to require you to push through some kind of resistance, you're going to fail at setting them. If you're the kind of person that is constantly aiming for these crazy high and unattainable goals, that's very demotivating. If you don't know where to start, think about the end, the real end, your death. Goal setting. Now, goal setting, it sounds simple, right? You just set a goal, then you go after it. Goal setting is something that I screwed up for years. I was the poster child of making resolutions and of being all talk, no walk. I was part of the 81% of people that had bailed on my resolutions by the time January 1st rolled around. That is, until I dug into the research, read the books, studied the experts, and figured out how you set goals and do it right according to what research has to say. And I want to talk to you about this today because I am getting an avalanche of questions and messages about setting goals and breaking and making new habits, like this one from Dave.
Hey Mel, this is Dave. I'm wondering if you can talk about goal setting and how to do it right. There's a lot of talk about resolutions and goals, and in the past I've had a hard time setting them and achieving goals. Could you give me any tips?
Thank you for this question, because you're not the only one that has a hard time setting and achieving goals. I am so excited by the number of you that are looking for information about ways to set and achieve goals this year. You and I are going to dig into the most foundational and important building blocks that you need in order to create lasting change in your life. These are the topics that I have been researching and teaching around the world. These are the topics that I write about in my books and in our audio projects with Audible. This is what I have been studying for years. Today, we're going to dive into goal setting. And when you understand these topics and the latest research, most importantly, you have simple tools that you can apply immediately to your own life. That's a game changer. Change is always going to be hard. Always. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But neuroscience, academic research, and other people's personal experiences can provide unbelievable insights into how, when, and why behavior change efforts on your part can succeed or fail. And I want you to have all of this and be able to use it to your advantage. I already mentioned that 81% of people give up on their goals. Well, guess what? That's not going to be you, because you, my friend, are going to have the science, the tools, the strategies, the shortcuts to not only making change happen, but making it stick. One of the things that I know based on the research is that no change will last in your life if it's not personally connected to you. And no goal will be achieved if you don't have a connection to why you want to achieve it. According to the research, and you probably have experienced this when you have been working on goals, goals matter because, number one, they make you happier. Number two, they suppress negative emotions. And in fact, based on some groundbreaking research out of the University of Wisconsin, having goals that you're working on can even suppress feelings of fear and depression. I mean, that's pretty cool. Third, goals give you a sense of purpose, meaning, and being up to something. When you have goals, it interrupts the day-to-day doldrum. It gives you something to look forward to. It makes you feel like something cool is happening. And that leads me to the fourth benefit. Life is harder when you have no goals. Based on the research, having goals makes your life feel easier. When you feel stuck, when things are monotonous, it's hard. When you got something that excites you, something that you're working toward, that's pretty awesome. And that's why you and me, we are going to start with your goals because they matter. And what also matters is how you set them. Because if you don't set goals the right way, based on science, you fail before you even start. And that was Mel Robbins for years. So think of this episode as a comprehensive toolkit that will help you make goals that are going to keep you inspired, that you can achieve, that are going to make you feel excited about the year ahead and what you're up to. And I have one promise to share with you. You're not only going to learn a lot today, by the time this episode is done, you're going to have identified between 1 and 3 goals. And you're going to do it with me, side by side, as I identify 1 to 3 goals for myself. And we are also going to apply the latest research every single step of the way. And I want to share that up front because I expect your goals to change from the beginning of this episode until the very end, because you are going to be applying the research all the way through this episode. By the end of our conversation, you're not only going to have defined these goals, you will have refined them, and you will have taken steps toward them. How freaking cool is that? So make sure you listen all the way to the end, because we are going to cover a ton of ground today. We're going to start by unpacking really exciting research that's pretty recent out of the University of Oregon that simplifies goal setting into 2 major components of what makes up a goal. And if you don't have these 2 major components present when you set your goals, you will fail. Seeing this study made me realize why I have failed in the past at setting certain goals. I'll tell you those stories because I think that they're going to help you. But this is really exciting stuff because it's super simple and there's so much research here. Second, as you begin to identify the goals using these 2 components that we're going to unpack, I'm going to walk you through the 5 mistakes that everybody makes that prevent you from achieving your goals. And you're not going to make these mistakes because now that you got your goals identified based on the University of Oregon research, we're going to make sure we refine those goals using the 5 mistakes so that you can avoid the pitfalls that I know I've fallen into. And step by step by step, we are going to support you. I'm so excited for this episode, honestly, because I'm going to do this with you. And you're also going to learn about a widely reported study regarding whether or not you should talk about your goals. This is a study that people cite all over the place that has been debunked. And I will tell you the new research related to whether or not you should ever talk about your goals. Okay? Cool. You ready? I got to take a breath because there's a lot we're going to do. Whew. I'm really, really excited about this. I love goals. And I also love this recent research that I found from Dr. Elliot Berkman at the University of Oregon. Now, Dr. Berkman is the co-director of the Center for Translational Neuroscience. And he studies the motivational and cognitive factors that contribute to success or failure at achieving goals. I mean, he's figured this out for both of us. How cool is this? So first, let's start with his definition of a goal, okay? Dr. Berkman's definition of a goal is this. A goal is any desired outcome that wouldn't otherwise happen without you doing something. So I'll give you an example of a goal. Let's say that this was the year that you're like, that's it. I'm getting 6-pack abs this year. If you have a goal of getting 6-pack abs, you have to do something different. That's why it's a goal. If you have a goal of getting out of debt, for example, you have to do something to make that goal happen. Let me give you an example of what is not a goal. Watching that series that you're addicted to, right now for my family, it's Gangs of London. I don't have to do anything different to watch the series Gangs of London. You see how that's not a goal? The reason why it's not a goal is there is 0 resistance. There is 0 change. There's 0 that I have to do differently. Goals naturally contain friction and resistance because they require you to do something new. Now, that might sound obvious, but if you don't get that a goal is going to require you to push through some kind of resistance, you're going to fail at setting them. They're going to be way too easy, okay? So let's start applying this to your life right now. I want you to think about an area of your life that you would like to improve or where you want to set a goal. What is an area of your life that you want to improve or where you want to make a new goal? I have 3 that I'm going to share with you. And one of my goals is in the area of free time and hobbies and having fun. A second goal of mine is going to impact my health in a positive way. And the third is about my mindset and focus and clarity. I invite you to listen along. And as I'm explaining my goals, think about what you're inspired to change, where you're willing to do something different. So I'm going to start with number one, hobbies and having more fun. I really want to spend more time. One goal of mine this year is to spend more time gardening. Now, a second goal that I have for this year is related to my health, and I want to stop drinking for a while this year. And third is about my mindset. I want to get back, this is a goal of mine, to a consistent journaling practice every single morning. So I want you to now stop and think about you. What are goals that you have that are going to require you to do something different in order to make this goal happen? Now, I want to stop for a second because I want to address something that you may be thinking right now because it's a question I'm seeing a lot.
Hey Mel, how do I set my goals if I can't determine what my goals are?
It's super common to have no idea what you want. And I'm going to give you a number of research-backed strategies that you can use to kind of cut through the uncertainty or the overwhelm or the fog in your brain and identify at least one goal by the end of this podcast that is personal and motivating to you. But I also want to talk about something that gets in a lot of people's way other than just not being sure what your goal should be, and that's perfectionism. If you're the kind of person that is constantly aiming for these crazy high and unattainable goals, that's very demotivating because super high goals, unattainable goals, what happens is you don't achieve those. And so you start to feel like a failure. And perfectionism can get in your way of setting goals because you start to figure, well, if you don't set a goal, then you can't fail. Perfectionism, according to the research around goal setting, looks a lot like this. You set goals, but then you give up before you start. Or you want to set goals, but you burn all your time just kind of analyzing and analysis paralysis. Or you also just avoid the situations where you feel like you're going to fail. So here's an example. You are really wanting to take your health seriously this year. And you set a goal of going to the gym every single day and exercising for 2 hours a day. And you literally fail before you even start because you're trying to get it perfect. And we're going to address that. Don't you worry. So whether you're dealing with brain fog or you're dealing with perfectionism, this is super common to not really know what your goals are. So let's talk about the research, okay? These are prompts that are going to help you to relax and to dream a little bit and to lean into goals that are really going to make a difference in your life. Because I want you to have goals. They really matter. So number one, it's really important that you make sure that your goals are really aligned with your dreams. And if you can't come up with any goals that really inspire you, this is going to sound counterintuitive, but I want to invite you to think even bigger. If you allow yourself to start dreaming again, then what you and I can do, if you can identify the dream, is you and I can then use the research to scale that big, awesome dream of yours back and turn it into small, achievable goals. This is based in research. And so I invite you, if you don't know what you want, allow yourself to dream big again. And then we'll get into the research about how to make that big dream a smaller goal. Now, here's a second tip. And this one's a little morbid, but it tends to work. If you don't know where to start, think about the end. Like the real end, your death. When you think about the fact that at some point this amazing thing called life comes to an end, what do you want to have achieved in your life? When you think about it in reverse, trust me, you're not going to wish that you spent more days at work. You're going to wish that you spent more time outside or more time with family. You're going to wish that you did pick up the guitar. You're going to wish that you did take on some of the goals that are buried deep within your heart. And so if you truly feel stuck, think about your own death. Research shows that it prompts you to get in touch with what matters to you. Now, you could also, if that doesn't float your boat, you can also just get quiet. And this is based in powerful research. Basically, mindful individuals are way better at setting the right goals for themselves. And I personally believe that one of the reasons why is that when you have a mindfulness practice, whether it's a meditation practice or heck, just get out in the woods for a walk. Have you noticed that if you ever take a long walk on a beach, that by the end of that 30-minute stroll, you've worked out a lot of your problems in life because you've gotten quiet? If you get quiet, you can hear the most important sound in the world, and that's your own voice. And that matters when it comes to goal setting, because the best goals are those goals that are personally relevant, meaningful, and enjoyable to you. Now, researchers have a term for this. They call goals that are personal to you self-concordant goals, or want-to goals. This comes from researchers at Carleton University. I like to call these goals personal goals. Getting in touch with yourself helps you set these kind of concordant goals. They are not goals that you feel pressure to do out of obligation. I think we've all taken on those goals, right? Where you're like, all right, everybody's getting in shape. Oh, everybody's doing Whole30. Oh, everybody's doing this. Guess I better do that too. Those kind of goals don't work because you're not interested in those goals. You want goals that are in touch with something personal to you. And here's another really interesting little hack that really works. You're going to use the third person. So using a third person perspective, according to research at Cornell, can help you identify and achieve personal goals better. And so now I'm going to turn it back to you again. And I want you to use the third person research from Cornell. I'm going to use it first. And then I do want you to say your goals out loud, okay? I've already shared my goals, but let's make these Cornell University style goals, okay? And let's do the third person. Mel would really love to spend more time gardening this year. You know, it feels kind of funny when you say that. It's almost like it's happening. Now you say it. What would you love to do? Say it in the third person in your name. Here's another one of mine. Mel has a goal to not drink. It sounds like more authoritative. It really, you got to try this. It's so wacky how this works. Mel, you know that Mel? She would love to get up every day and have a rock solid journaling routine. It's weird how that Cornell University works. And now it's your turn. Use the third person. Take a minute, hit pause, and say what you want out loud. Go ahead. It's kind of weird, isn't it, when you use your own name? And look, it's okay if it's super general. Mine are really general. Did you notice that? My goals right now, they're just things I kind of want to do. I want to journal. I want to not drink for a couple months. And I want to spend more time gardening. By the time this episode is done, you and I are going to refine these general statements, these goals, using research. Here's the most important thing about goals. And I love this study because it boils goals down into two things that have to be present. If these two components of a goal are not present, you're not doing shit when it comes to this goal. I have experienced this in my life. You have experienced this. And I can't wait for you to hear this. So the two components to achieving any goal is that there must be what researchers call the will and the way. The will of any goal refers to the motivational and emotional aspects of the behavior change. In other words, the why. The will is the why of behavior change. So let me ask you a couple questions that researchers kind of unpacked in this study that are going to help you really clarify the why when it comes to the goals that you're thinking about as you and I are talking right now. Why is the behavior change important to you? Why do you want to change? Why now? Why is the behavior change important to you? Well, it's important to me, this goal of spending more time this year gardening, because I love gardening. When I'm out in the garden, it's super relaxing. It's really creative. I love growing flowers from seed. The second question, why do you want to change? I want to change because I want to be present more in my life. I want to change because I want to get serious about having more fun and being more creative. And this third question, why now? Why now? Why is this a goal now in your life? Well, for me, because I just feel called to do it. I feel like if I'm ever going to break this addiction to being busy and I'm going to find more time to truly enjoy my life, I have to get serious about making that change now. Like, why wait? And so I feel called to do it. So that's the first part. And I want you to ask those questions of yourself for any goal you want to set. Why is the behavior important to you? Why do you want to change? Why now? And if you don't have an answer to those questions, that goal that you're thinking about will not work, because the will to do it, the motivation, the why, it's not going to be there because it's not personal to anything to you. Now let's talk about the second component, okay? The second component in this study from the University of Oregon is the way. And the way refers to the cognitive and informational aspects of the behavior change. I call this the how. The way is the how of behavior change. And so let me walk you through those questions. How is this behavior change going to unfold? What skills and capacities does it require? What is the specific plan for doing it? And for me, the behavior change that's going to unfold is I am going to study how to create a cutting garden. I'm going to learn about cultivating flowers from seeds. What skills and capacities does it require? Well, a lot for me. What is the specific plan? I'm in the middle of creating the plan. And I think you can start to see as you ask yourself these questions about the goal that you have. How's this behavior change going to unfold? What skills and capacities does it require? What is the specific plan for getting this done? I think you can see that if you don't identify the how, that change ain't happening. Because willpower alone, motivation alone, it's not enough. You got to have, according to the research, both the why and the how in order to be successful at changing behavior. And so the takeaway here is that any goal requires two things. There must be a will and a way, a why and a how. And here's why this is really interesting. Neuroscience has revealed that your brain system involved in those two sides of the behavior change are entirely different from one another. So for example, the how you're going to make this goal a reality, that's all the brain circuits that are involved in executive functioning, including your prefrontal cortex, among other areas of the brain. The why, on the other hand, is the dopaminergic, I can't even say it, that's why I can't say it. It's the dopamine reward system within the brain. That's the why. And you need both. You need to tackle the how, which is having the know-how, the skills, the plan, the push. And you also got to have the why. And the why is what comes into play when you know what to do, but you can't do it. It's how you hack the motivation. And what studies reveal is that this is hard because new behaviors, they're rarely as motivating. As much as we may love to make a plan and you may love to buy a new journal, or I used to love to buy a new planner. Have you ever had that experience where you're all excited to go to the gym? You're all excited to try this new routine. You're all excited for this new habit. And the day one that comes, no motivation at all. I mean, it makes sense because why would you want to try that new HIIT exercise when you know that watching Netflix, something you do all the time, is way more enjoyable? That's why having both is super important. You cannot just have the why you want to do it with no plan. That doesn't work. And you also can't have a plan and have no reason why you want to get it done. And when you really stop and think about your goals this way, having a why and a how, it's what's going to get you excited. And if you're somebody that continues to make goals, but you constantly give up on them, I'm going to tell you something right now. Those goals are not linked to something that you value, to a core belief. And the second that you make that link and you make these goals personal, holy cow, you will be unstoppable. So we've covered the two components of goals based on the research at University of Oregon. I've asked you to walk through the questions of the why and the how about the goals that you're starting to set. And I want to say something right now. If you're starting to feel like the things you wrote down in the beginning are not the goals that you want, that's great. You may change things up completely from the beginning of this episode, the middle of the episode, and the end of the episode. That's the point of this. Listening to research is not going to change your life. Applying the research will. So please, as you're gaining insight and as you're taking this and as you're taking these tools that I'm sharing with you and you're applying them to the way that you're thinking about your own goals for the next year, please allow yourself to change. Please allow yourself to modify the goals because that is going to help you achieve them.